hear that trailer. We played it twice today. I get goosebumps from it for so many reasons. Transformers Rise of the Beast is in theaters Friday. We just had Dominique Fishback here, but it was important that we had the director for so many reasons, man. This guy has done some excellent work over the years that I've just happened to follow, you know, starting with The Land back in 2016. I remember watching that going, like, wow, this is really interesting. I didn't know that area of Ohio like that. I didn't know, you know, I just didn't know what I was looking at. In the same way when I would watch shows like The Wire, even, you know, I felt like I was getting a bird's eye view. I thought it was really well done. And when I found out how young the director was that made it, I was very impressed. And then saw Creed 2 in 2018 and was like, yo, this guy is on the rise. I want to know him. You know, and it turns out that we have so much in common. So I want to say congratulations for Transformers Rise of the Beast. You in another lane now, kid.
For real.
You in another lane now. And we're proud to have you here. Please give it up for Stephen Caple Jr. Forbes said he was one of the 30 under 30 in Hollywood and entertainment. Soon as Forbes put you in their, you know, publication, man, everybody started asking for money.
Facts, everybody.
Stephen Caple Jr., welcome to the show, man.
Thank you for having me, man. It's trippy to be on here. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
It's a really it's an emotional moment being on this show. I watched you for so long. You know what I mean? Like growing up, sorry to put my age out there or yours.
No, that's okay, man.
Child.
I've been around so long, man. They stopped counting.
Childhood, you know.
How young? When you say?
I know. Nah, teenage years. Okay, you know, not as far as elementary, man. But just to be here with you guys, the energy is always great. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
From afar, so. I just want to say I love what you do, and yeah, there's so much connective tissue, man, in terms of my career, people I ran into, and people who've been on this show that you even introduced me to, which is crazy.
That's you know. So one of the people was Ezra. You remember him?
Yes.
You remember him, the young
Ezra,
man?
yeah.
He came up here with his mom.
Yeah, with his mom. She was battling cancer at that moment, and he came up here from Cleveland, Ohio, my hometown, did a freestyle on your show, killed it, went viral. And I saw it when I was casting my project, and I put him into my film because of this show. That's like amazing. He literally auditioned, and his career took off. Snowfall, things like that. Like he was in everything, and because you gave him the platform, bro.
Man,
you gave him the platform.
Thank you, Stephen. I'm not gonna take all that. I'm a conduit. You know, it's coming from somewhere else,
that's
bro.
huge,
I'm just here. I'm just playing my position. That's part of my purpose. Same with Tobe Nwigwe. Who's in Transformers, who's killing it, by the way.
He is, man.
Yeah, and so you found him on this show.
Yeah, no, so I didn't find him on the show, but he came up here and told the story of how he was casted.
Oh, that's right.
And it was because my best friend who passed, he's from Brooklyn, New York, and he introduced me to Tobe's music right before he had passed away during 2020, which was a crazy and dark year. And so the day of his funeral, legit here, we buried his body in Brooklyn. I got the script for Transformers, and in that script itself, and I kid you not, October 5th, I know it like the back of my hand, 2020, and I got the script, and there was a character in there. At that time, it was named Hank, and I was like, I'm gonna dedicate this character to my friend, like his best friend role, and so I changed it to Reek, which is his name, and wrote it to like fit his personality. And then when casting it, that's when Tobe came about. Another friend of mine, Bernie, was like, you love Tobe's music so much, you think he can act? He never acted a day in his life. And we put a camera in front of him, and he killed it, man. He did amazing, but it was a dedication to like all his philosophies. When you guys check out the film, like the characters out there, and there's a lot of it's from this real guy named Tyreek, and Tobe he bodied it.
He bodied it. So does he? Great. Do you see your friend when he plays the character?
I do. It's trippy, man. I get emotional thinking about his family's about to come out to the premiere tonight. I have them all coming out. Tyreek, his whole fam, his mom, his dad, the Jackson family. And so they'll be there. But yeah, every time I hear his name on the screen, and it's just, so much like him. I hear Anthony yelling his name, Reek, and because he's just so chaotic. You know what I mean? And he has a really interesting philosophy when you watch it. And, and he's also a shiesty character too. My brother Reek definitely was on that. You know, he would always, look for a way out. He was that smooth. So you'll see, man, it's all in there. And I hope to make the family proud too.
Absolutely. I know when you move, I feel like are you from Cleveland?
I am. Yep,
You're
that's
from
my
Brooklyn?
hometown. Yep.
So when I work, a lot of times, I don't care what, I've done a lot of different things, but I always carry Oakland on my back.
Yeah,
and I always want people to know things about Oakland that they don't commonly know. Talk about your relationship with Cleveland and how your work reflects that.
Oh, man, that's a great question. It's my hometown. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. Like for me, I was always a kid that was going out for adventure. I have a few friends here now. My family, they know me. It was like Cleveland allowed me to express myself in ways that I don't know if I could express myself in other places. Yeah. Like we had that sort of like Goonies-esque Boys in the Hood, the beginning of Boys in the Hood, the opening,
Want to see a dead body?
Go see a dead body? Like, that's like our childhood growing up, it was like...
Why you just do no dialogue from everything?
Come on, man.
Come on, man. Want to see a dead body?
Exactly.
Hey, little man, catch.
Exactly. It was exactly that, right? Like, you have gangs around the corner, but at the same time, like, if you get the pass, you get the pass. You can go to Lake Erie and jump off the pier. Like, we were doing all that kind of crazy stuff, breaking into abandoned warehouses. My mom is here. She knows. I don't know how many times she gave me a whooping and or a pat on the back.
Okay.
But yeah, like that kind of shaped my childhood and the way I tell stories. I didn't realize that probably until this project when I started to really like plan out and create arcs of like an actual adventure and be like, oh, we're going to Peru, we're going to these different places. I was like trying to make New York, and again, not to segue into the film, but trying to make New York an adventure to Peru feel like something big and epic, and you kind of tap into your childhood a little bit. Like, what did I do as a kid? Like, what felt fun? What felt mysterious? And thankfully the city itself like provided that like liberty to like have fun and just do what I needed to do to grow.
This is a huge franchise. I don't know if they get bigger than this.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
It's
a few, but it's really big.
It's not many that's it's in that elite group. And I just wonder how many days did you stay up at night just thinking about this?
Yeah.
So many days, man. It was the most stressful thing I've ever done in my life. Yeah, it was tough, man. I don't know how many times I got sick during this project. We also shot during quarantine, which was really, really tough. But yeah, sleepless nights, many, man. It's just like we shot for, I don't even know, it's close to 80 days, just a bit. But the preparation, everything it takes to get the visual effects done and travel across the world. First film was in Cleveland, right? That was like 3 week shoot in Cleveland, Ohio. Then we did Creed, which is like close to 50 days almost, and that was all in Philly. And then to do Transformers, where you're like, Montreal, New York, Iceland, Peru, Tarapoto Jungle, Cusco, like it's so much traveling and it's so taxing on your body. And there's that little stress level of like, are we getting what we need to get? Because you're moving so fast. And, there's so many fans, like you said, who are watching a project and like expecting greatness, what I mean? And so like, then there's you there, right? Me as a black director that's like, we can't drop this ball. Like it's our time. We got the ball. Let's do what we have to do. So all those things kind of keep you up at night. But I got a great support team. You know what I mean? I'll say that.
You brought your mom and dad here, bro.
Yeah.
How often usually it's a lot of times for us is one parent.
Yeah.
So meeting your dad, I thought was, I'm a dad, so meeting, got both parents here, and they about to walk the red carpet.
Yeah, no, they are, man. This is my dad's first time at any of my movie premieres.
Really?
Yeah.
Said you got a suit you gonna wear tonight? What you gonna wear tonight? You gonna go casual? Okay.
He's an OG.
Like a cool cat.
Yeah, he's gonna keep it simple.
I'm just gonna do what I do, Sway. I've been doing it for a long time.
I ain't wearing no tux for this shit.
I like that.
Steven, I'm curious. One thing I've always loved about you is that you are not afraid to bring culture and identity into these iconic roles in movies and film. I'm thinking about Creed, how you made that so cultural, but it was such an already iconic property with Rocky. Looking at Transformers and listening to you talk about your best friend Reek, right? And how you brought him into this mainstream iconic movie. How do you get, I guess, the strength and the confidence to approach culture and authenticity into these already well-known properties, but without being afraid of the pushback? Because it's so hard for people to bring themselves into corporate America, right? Let alone to a big black office success.
I expect to push back on everything that I do. I think going into it, you know what I mean? My team would tell you, you know what I mean? Like we go into it knowing like, all right, I'm gonna fight for this, I'm gonna fight for that. But it's the only way I can make a project. It's one of those, I'm kind of like go at it or shut down, and I feel like if I'm gonna do it, I have to put all of me into it and find those things that I'm gravitating towards. It's a long process to make a movie. And if you don't find like those pieces, those nuggets that are like are you, that represent you, then I can't do a project, you know. So for me to have a character in the film, whether it's Adonis Creed and he's like, he's getting married in our film. He has his daughter, you know, so to speak. Stages that I'm going through in my life. I just had a daughter.
Oh, congratulations, man!
Happy early Father's Day.
That's your first kid?
Oh yeah, it's my first child.
Your
I haven't experienced Father's Day yet. No, I haven't experienced it yet. She's really young, but like, you know, when doing the movie, I remember like, oh, this is going to be the next chapter of my life, you know, so to speak. So like to be able to go, what fears do I have, you know, and becoming a father and things like that, and expressing that within film, and then also as Adonis Creed, a black father sitting in that situation. So I try to like tackle each project with that. Luckily, there's not pushback in them ends because I feel like our stories are still universal enough. You know what I mean? Like even though it's culturally specific, you can relate to it, you know. And I think finding the balance and expressing that, communicating that to anybody, whether an exec, the studios, anybody, an actor who you're trying to get on board on the project, being like, yeah, it's this kind of title like Transformers, but Dominique, you're going to be able to be you, that young girl from Brooklyn. I'm not going to take that away from you, but you're going to be this intelligent girl from Brooklyn who works at a museum and who's going to like, no spoiler alerts, but maybe save the day at the end of the movie, you know, so stuff like that. But yeah, bringing and embracing the culture, whether it's music, whether it's wardrobe, whether it's just the actors themselves. Like I just want to make sure that every film sort of reflects that, because it's the only thing I know, you know. It's like one of the things that inspired me, and I tell this story all the time because I went to film school, and people always think like Fellini and these other really artistic directors like got me inspired to make movies, but it was the movie Bad Boys. It's an action
Bad
film.
Boys?
Yeah, it's like, but it was Bad Boys. And it was because it was like Martin Lawrence and Will Smith together, like jumping on top of cars, like two black act. Like I flipped out. My mom would tell you, I'm with her camcorder outside in the back with my cousins. You run around the corner, you jump on top of the car, and I'm reenacting the movie. You know, trying to like actually make something. And that's what inspired me as a director. So if I'm like sitting in the seat and I can do that for someone else, that's literally my MO. I'm here to inspire.
Stephen Caple Jr. here, man. Cleveland, stand up.
Yeah.
Stand up. Shout out to Bone Thugs and Harmony. Did you meet any of those dudes, man?
I did. I got a funny story. I did, man. I met Steven, man. I don't know if you met Steven.
That's like somebody asking you from New York,
Steven.
have you met Jay-Z?
I mean, I was here. You hanging out with Bone, bro?
I can't tell my Bone Thug story, but yes, I definitely have. On my way to Cleveland to actually make my first film, The Land, I met,
Can't tell the story?
I can't tell the story.
Okay, that's fair.
I love
Is
Bone
it
Thugs.
embarrassing?
No, it's not embarrassing. I'll try to get Bone Thugs in my first feature, The Land, and yeah, it was tough. It was tough to try to get them there and like and just get them involved.
Okay.
So it wasn't embarrassing.
Yeah.
It was just like, it's Bone Thugs.
You ain't got to tell everything, man. I'm old school, too. You ain't got to tell it all. Tracy.
You know what I'm wondering, Stephen? So often we will see actors reach a certain point in their career where they want to get behind the camera, right? Either as a director or as a producer. And with you being a triple threat, but behind the scenes as a director, a producer, a screenwriter, were you ever interested in acting yourself?
Not necessarily. Like I thought that's what the passion was at first. You know, when I started reenacting Bad Boys in the Backyard, I was in front of the camera. But a lot of it was because I didn't know how to cast actors. You know, I'm talking like I'm 11 years old, 12 years old. And then when I got to school in college, 17, 18, I started to explore it more. And I was the actor. I was the lead actor in the movies. Why did Dominique say something when she was up here? She always saying like, you the actor, you don't front of the camera. No, I haven't had any like. No, I wasn't inspired at all to like act, but I have taken acting classes, but all in a way to be a better director. You know, like to learn what it feels like to be in front of the camera, so I can communicate clear with my talent. Because I don't want to like try to say something and it's like, why am I not getting across this idea or concept? So when I'm in the hot seat and taking acting classes, I took them throughout college. It helps you, better understand when the actor's asking a question. You're like, oh, I know why you need this motivation.
Can you give an example of something that you learned that's helped you, that's assisted you as a director in communicating?
In acting class or in general?
In acting class.
In acting class, like a lot of it was around motivations. A lot of listening was a big thing. Sometimes you don't have to give a note because like sometimes the actor, the easiest, simplest thing is like sometimes in the actor seat and they tell you this in acting class is to listen to your acting partner in the scene. right? And that's where I realized that as a director, you might be stepping in something magic, like stepping on magic by trying to like infuse something that the two actors might be sharing personally because they're actually listening to each other and listening to the page. So if I give a note and like for Anthony Ramos, if I give Anthony a note and he's like, yeah, but Dominique is saying this. And I realized that my note is kind of contradicting a chemistry between the two.
Yeah.
But I can be the director and be like, nah, this is how I want your character Noah to read it. And he's like, nah, but I'm reacting. So it'll be a moment where he's reacting off of someone else's energy, right? And so like I didn't know that. You know, you step into acting class and then you hear acting note from a coach, and you're like, oh nah, like, but the way he's saying this particular line, I'm trying to respond off of that. So I could be, again, stepping in a way. And so being in that hot seat and knowing what that meant, that carries a long way.
Good.
So I tune into my actors a lot.
That's good, man. Stephen Caple Jr. here. We're talking about Transformers Rise of the Beast. Premieres tonight, DB.
Yeah.
So if you're able to talk about it, I wanted to see if, because I'm a big fan of like Bad Boys, Michael Bay, Don Murphy, Jerry Bruckheimer, like those big budget, huge blockbuster movies. But I also, you know, at this point in time where we're at, $1 million, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars being spent on a budget for a film is just commonplace. You know, it just is. So if you can explain how once the budget is agreed upon, what were the things that you were like, all right, this is what I want, and I definitely want to spend money on it. This is what I want, you know, whether it was P&A or whatever the case, special effects. What were the things that you honed in on? Like, all right, here's where the money has to go.
Yeah. Once we, in this particular film, or are you just talking about this movie?
Yeah.
A lot of it was visual effects. We shot during a really interesting time, which was COVID, and like we had millions of dollars spent on just the protocols that you have to take on set. You know, so you have hundreds of people on set. One time we had 1,000. You know, in terms of like getting everything together. So you spend tons of money there, and so you start to realize, damn, half my budget is already,
Which would never happen in normal.
Yeah, exactly. So now you have that sort of like burden of trying to create this project. But for us, it was all about visual effects. So we try to get as much as we can on set. Transformers really prides itself in like traveling to locations and actually shooting. You know, this is no shade to other franchises or any other companies, but there's a lot of green screen work and a lot of stuff done in the studio. Where us, we're like, let's go to Peru, let's showcase their culture, let's learn some history, and let's actually shoot there. And that's really tough. So the money goes into how do we get a crew out to Peru? How do we hire people also in Peru? And how do we make sure we're moving through that whole thing safely? So that was a big one for us on this project, Peru itself, and then the visual effects. We knew we were always going to hit this sort of like wall with visual effects because after COVID, everything had stopped for a moment. Like no one knew if we were going to make movies, the cinema was going to be closed, and then it opened back up, and then Paramount was like, we want to make sure Transformers is there, like in a big way. But then everyone was putting out their movies, so visual effects houses, you know, it was like a bottleneck, like no one could get through.
It was like wait in line, basically.
We were waiting in line, and we're like, man, so in all fairness, we had a push, you know what I'm saying? That was one thing we wanted to come out last year for the fans. Again, we apologize, but you guys got magic this year.
Yeah.
But it was like, we wanted to do it right, and hats off to Michael Bay, these big producers who've done it before, because he was advocating like, we want to do this right, like we got to serve the audience, we want to make sure everything is visually popping and people can really feel it. And so we were like, all right, we'll take our time with that. And they also spent more money because now you got to leave the cut open longer, and people are constantly working on these shots, and massive artists. We have thousands of artists working on this movie. You'll see tonight we have like a 9-minute credit scroll.
The credit rolled 9 minutes.
Yeah, because of visual effects. So we all knew that from the jump. You know, like that was going to take up majority of the money. And that's what we say. That's what we try to like thrive for. Like, how can we make production as cheap as possible if we can? You know, without sacrificing the vision, and then knowing that when we hit the other side of editing, that we're gonna have some surprises because we're gonna have to try to hire like more vendors and things like that to try to reach this deadline. If that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. Stephen Caple Jr., man, I want to thank you for coming by, man.
Yes.
Transformers: Rise of the Beast. You worked with a lot of actors, man, and you watched a lot of actors over the years. How big or how high is Anthony Ramos' star gonna rise after this?
Oh my God, Anthony Ramos. Oh man, it's gonna rise. He's really, really good in this film, man. His versatility as an actor and as a talent.
Yes.
You know, the fact that when you watch the movie, you can laugh. He can make you cry. His physicality, like it's not too many actors that could roll on the floor and still feel like an action hero. You know what I mean? He brings a level of vulnerability to the project that like is really hard to find. He balances it all out really well, and he has his charm. Man, I don't know if you guys met him yet.
Oh yeah, that's a good friend of mine.
Okay. Like,
he was on the show too early too.
He could brighten up a room, man.
Yeah.
Like he has a big, huge smile, and it's just like he always carries his energy, man. Like he's always happy, you know, and so that behind the scenes, it helps a lot for the chemistry on set as a director and trying to get out a performance. But star level, like, I don't know what he can't do. He can sing.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't,
That
you know
dude
what I
does
mean? Like,
everything.
there are very few that are triple threats out there. Like Jamie Foxx, the legend, icon. Like that kind of talent is really hard to find. You know, it's like, yeah, he's special, man.
Yeah, you're special.
Yes,
you're
you are,
special.
brother.
Thank you,
Stephen Caple Jr., man. You know I'm from Oakland, so
We got a little beef because the Warriors and the. I know.
yo, you almost didn't make it to the show. I'm just gonna say that, man.
I know.
Don't hate.
You know how
I know.
you know, but we're good. We're good.
I know.
You know,
Between you and Ryan
Coogler. I know Ryan got on you, man. I know
There's
Ryan
text
got on you,
messages.
man.
We got it, man.
Yeah,
We got
man.
history. We
Yeah,
got
you and
history.
Ryan go at it too, man.
Yeah, we go at it with the Cavs and the Warriors beef all the time. Right now, you know, it's a weird one. This year, we had to both kind of like be quiet and sit in the back because you know we got taken out pretty early.
How is it being a Cavs fan right now?
Horrible. What do you mean?
like-
Oh, I'm sorry. That's for you. I'm sorry. That's for you. My bad. I mean to jump in.
You know, it helps you prepare for life. You know what I mean? As a kid, you know, you go through your ups and downs. You got to keep your head up, and you know, it's always next year.
Did you feel
or next
torn to
project.
go with LeBron?
I did it because I understood. Well, LeBron left twice, right? So we know that he left twice. The first time
He didn't want to be there.
the first time it hurt a bit, but I understood what he was going through. I think, you know, his problems with, we talk about LeBron like I'm on his team, you know, problems with The Office and that stuff like that. You know, he was like, you guys got to do better. But then when he came back, you know, and won the ring and like, you know, it's LeBron, you know, like as winning that ring, he's our GOAT. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so it's
absolutely.
like, in Cleveland, Ohio, that's crazy. We only have a championship, so to have that, yes.
Yeah, y'all never get another one.
That's cold.
For a long time. I don't see it.
Cold. It's cool.
We could
The
borrow
Warriors
one of
starting to
ours.
slowly break apart. You know?
Wow.
They are.
Wow. Stephen, this was such a great conversation.
The fights
Up
in the
until
locker
this
room,
point.
we can see it.
That
Yeah.
part, the violence,
The violence. and the-
gang mentality.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it Steven Spielberg and George Lucas who used to make bets on film?
Steven Spielberg and George Lucas made a bet because one was doing Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and Steven was doing Close Encounters, and George Lucas was doing Star Wars.
Right?
George thought Star Wars was going to bomb because they would visit each other on set. So they made a bet, and they said whoever's movie opens successfully, then they have to pay the other person a percentage for the rest of their life. And George was like, this movie, I'm having so many issues and everything like that. So the point of the story is Steven has to pay George a percentage of the royalties for the rest of his life. So he didn't even have to make another movie. He could have lived off of that
Damn,
bet.
that's crazy. So I'm thinking about you and Ryan.
Oh, I'm down for that. We could definitely make some bets. We very past it though, man. But I think everything he's gonna do is pretty successful, man.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's gonna be I don't know what the bet would be. You know, we have to figure out what that would be.
Would y'all do something together?
Yeah. I mean, we kind of did with Creed.
Right.
Okay, that's
You
true.
know what I mean?
That's
like
true.
Creed
Yeah,
2,
yeah,
we kind of
yeah.
just like when we went into it, I thought
Yeah.
that was super dope because in
Okay.
my eyes, I was like, I always wanted John Singleton and Spike Lee, and
Yeah.
like how can we start to like bridge the gap more and like actually work with each other? You know, it's like we have a really strong collective, I would say. You know,
Who's in the
between-
collective? That's what I'm curious
Well,
about.
it's like I'm calling it collective, but we ain't name it. But like, you know, the fact that we're all pretty close. Like me, Shaka King, there's this guy named Tommy Oliver who's a producer, Lena Waithe, Ryan Coogler, like, you know what I mean? Like all of us, we stay connected. You know, we always call
amazing.
each other. We always hit each other up about projects.
That's dope.
Kenya Barris is one I always reach out
Kenya
to.
Barris, that's our
like,
family, man.
All those feel like, family. And so like for us to find, when we work together, it's something great. You know, if I had opportunity, and I did with Ryan, with Creed 2, it's like, let's work together and make something great. And and that's what Creed 2 was.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be more in the future for sure, by finding the right project and the right timing. But I think to let you know, we're always like hunting for it. I'm not saying that on some like we're floating stuff.
Yeah.
We hope we connect again. Like we will. It's just a matter of time and what project.
Beautiful.
That's what's up, man. Hey, man, I'm proud of you, brother.
Oh, thank
dope,
you,
bro.
man.
Yeah,
Man, I'm
and,
glad to have you on the
Thank you,
show,
bro.
man.
Same,
Much
same,
love.
same.
Continued
Thank you,
success.
guys.
Congratulations to your family as well.
Yes.
Cleveland, we up.
Yes.
You
We
will
are.
never hear me say that twice.
Oh, thank
But no,
you.
no,
We
I'm
appreciate
happy
you,
for
Sway.
Cleveland. No, I'm happy for Cleveland, man. What's the Ray Cash. That's Cleveland.
You were digging far back.
Yeah, we used to
Yeah,
play
we got
Ray.
Kid Cudi, we got
Kid
Kels,
Cudi.
Coulson Baker, we got we got talent, man. We got actors. Yeah.
Dr. Genius.
Okay, all right. Cleveland, we up. Cleveland.
And we got Stephen Caple Jr.
There you go, man.
Thank you. Appreciate
Have fun
that.
tonight, man. And let's break some box office records.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I
Yes.
see that happening.
June 9th,
Yeah.
man.
June 9th,
Yeah.
right?
This week.
All right, Stephen Caple Jr.